her other son got in a terrible car accident, a very, very dangerous accident, and putting his life in terrible danger. In herself, she found terrible problems in her house, and she realized, as soon as that rabbi said that curse, Avrohom Mishpat, Hashem will make justice, she realized, wow, her whole life turned upside down. Her husband died, her son got in a car accident, her whole house was causing problems and difficulties. Right away, she came and she asked the rabbi forgiveness, and she brought him a box of matzah for Pesach to show, like, here, I care for your religion. And from then on, she turned out to be from the nicest nurses around, as opposed to the mean one she was. But he always would try to make the people who took care of him feel good. There was one time where he teased a nurse. A nurse one time poked him in the eye with one of the instruments and one of the pieces of equipment. Avram was used to being Mekabel Yisurim with Ahava. He was used to accepting any suffering without complaining. He wasn't a spoiled brat. He was able to accept what Hashem does proudly and comfortably. And he said, it's okay, but it jabbed him in the eye. But the next day when he came home, he told his son, get me a pirate's patch for my eye. Get me a patch to put on my eye. And they went and they looked for a pirate patch and he wanted to put it on his eye. And this way he wanted the next day when he goes to the next time the ambulance comes to take him to the dialysis center to clean his blood, he would put the pirate's patch on and the nurse would get all nervous. And this would teach her to be more careful. So he went, and as he put on the patch, and they bring him in, and all of a sudden, she says, oh, Rabbi, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize, oh no, I can't believe it, oh, I'm so sorry, Rabbi. And he just takes off the patch and gives her a smile, just kidding. But that was someone that, even when you pained him, he wanted to make you feel good, he wanted to give you a smile. It turns out, he had a tremendous love for everybody, and even the Goyim started having a tremendous love for him. You know, he was the only person in the dialysis center who would sit in his chair for 3-hour sessions with full smile, with full stature, reading a sefer, listening to a Torah tape. He always had this silver portable stereo he would take with him with Mishnayot tapes and Torah tapes. And you know what? The nurses and the doctors said, look at this. Every person here is sitting down on the bed like this, bent over, crouched over like in an old nursing home, like they have nothing to live for, and they feel broken-spirited and broken-hearted. But that rabbi, he's sitting there like a throne, sitting there learning Mishnah with a smile, telling everyone a nice story, always sitting up with full confidence. And that was someone who was a tremendous maimon, a tremendous believer in Hashem, that he says, listen, whatever Hashem does is good. Some people, as soon as they have a little sorrow, right away they feel miserable. But Avram wouldn't know what misery was. Because when you have bitachon in Hashem, trust in Hashem, how could you feel miserable? And they liked that. They liked his dignity and his grace. And they appreciated his humor. And even on Shabbat, he would sing a song on Shabbat that you would think he was a perfectly healthy person. You didn't even know when you looked at him that he didn't have feet. That's how happy he was. And he'd sing a song that went like this. Ya Ribban Olam, Yomaya, Antu Malka, Melech Malchaya, Ova Givortei, Betim Haya, Shvai Kadamach, V'Rushvenaya. You know what? He used to sing that song with such grace that you would think he was perfectly healthy. I even think he made up that tune. I'm not even sure. But you know what? When he used to sing, there was one part that tears would swell up in his eyes. The part of that pismon where you say, Hashem, even if I would live 1,000 years, I would not be able to praise you enough of your beautiful world that you made. And he would sing that with tears in his eyes, that here, Lu Yechia Gevar Shinin Alfin, even if I would live 1,000 years, me and Malil, who could praise Hashem sufficiently? That was someone who has bitachon, that he could sing to Hashem even in his pain and even in his sorrow. It turns out, there was one time where I saw Rev Avrohom saw my father throw away a whole stack of letters into the garbage. And they looked like very official letters. They had stamps on them, looked like government stamps, government papers. So I went and I quickly took it out of the wastebasket. And I saw, wow, There was so many letters of semichot, of kabbalot that rabbis wrote him, and in the letters they write, Hinei ha-mufa amar abachar ha-muflig, harav ha-tzadik, ha-tamid chacham, yarei shamayim, anav kehilel, humble like Hillel, and like, I took it out, I was reading all these letters, wow, look how the rabbis referred to him, letters from Batei Dinim, letters of semicha, giving him certification to be a rabbi, and the licenses, and right when I took it out, he said, what are you going in the garbage for? He didn't even want people to know that he had these titles of honor. He said, what do I need the honor for? Honor in this world takes away from honor in the next world. And here he was, he just threw it away. What do you have to go? And he said, what are you going in the garbage for? And it turns out, one time, when his health was deteriorating even worse, he lost his memory, and when the ambulance brought him home, he did not recognize his house. He didn't recognize the people in the house. He didn't recognize him, the family even, who he didn't remember who was who. And he told the ambulance drivers, I'm sorry, I think you brought me to the wrong home, I'm sorry. And I answered the door, and I said, no, Abba, this is your house. And he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. Boy, I must have slipped. We're two houses away. And I said, no, Abba, this is your house. I'm mine. And he couldn't remember. And I said, Abba, this is your chair. This is the chair you always learn Mishnah in all day and all night. And he looked and he said, I'm sorry, ambulance drivers. I must be down the block. And then, like, slowly but surely, he started remembering, and he was saying, oh, really? This is my house? I guess the medication was taking a terrible effect. But one day he burst into tears. You know why he cried? Not because he lost his mind that he couldn't remember even family members. He cried because, I forgot a Mishnah that I used to always know about Peh. He knew so much Mishnah by heart, Torah Shabbat Peh should be memorized. Nowadays we're weak, our memories are weak, our minds are very, very poor. It's hard for us to memorize Torah Shabbat Peh. But he's crying because there was one Mishnah in Shabbat that speaks about the 18 decrees that were decreed in the attic of Hananiah and Chizkiah. And here he started forgetting them. He started crying, oh no, forgetting Torah, that I can't take. Torah gives me joy, Torah gives me strength. But when he started forgetting Torah, that's when he started to cry. But that wasn't the only time he cried. When people used to come and say, Avrohom, please say Tehillim for me that I should have children. Please say Tehillim for me that I should have a baby boy. Avrohom would start praying. And when people asked, pray for me that I should have a refuah shlema, he would let out tears. He would cry for others. He didn't cry much, but he cried for others, for their pain. One time when he was in the hospital, it was Rosh Hashanah in Shlomi, the great Mechabed Av, the great one who honors his parents, Baruch Chaim El-Chaim. He went to the hospital, and he said it was such an amazing Rosh Hashanah. Usually Tel Yeshiva has the nicest Rosh Hashanah davening in the world, at least from the nicest. The songs are so inspiring, you can't imagine how amazing it is. How the rabbis just sing these tunes that you think that the Levim and the Beit HaMikdash made them up. It stirs everyone to teshuvah. And right then, as they were in the hospital, they realized, hey, there's such a special feeling here. And as they were there, Avrohom didn't want to eat. Till suddenly, Avrohom said, Shlomi, Eliyahu Hanavi's here. Shlomi, stand up. Shlomi looks around the room and no one's there. And Avrohom turns all of a sudden, so happy. And he starts saying, L'chaim, L'chaim, eat, drink. And they're eating and Shlomi's looking around, but he said something felt special in the room. It really felt special. And as they're eating, Avrohom was almost never so happy. In the hospital on Rosh Hashanah, a person would be so sad, and he was so filled with joy. He was like, wow. And then when it came time for Zimun to bench, he even wanted to make a Zimun. Eliyahu, Shlomi, and himself. That's how much he felt as if Eliyahu Hanavi was there. But it turns out that when Purim came, he was in the hospital as well. And he was reading the Megillah, the miracles that happened to Bnei Israel, and I walked in. He looked like a bag of bones sitting up in a bed, so weak, so frail. He lost so much weight without his legs. But he was reading the miracle of Purim as if it happened to him. He was crying tears of joy. And look, and he was reading the Megillah, holding the scroll. And look what happened here. And then he was reading it in Hebrew. He always was careful to say the Lashon HaChacharim, the Lashon Torah, Lashon HaKodesh. And here he was like laughing as if the miracle of Purim happened with him. Realizing that Hashem will make miracles for everyone. And right at that time, he wanted to get a passport to go to Israel. He wanted to be able to live in Israel, but the passport had complications, and he felt bad that he would never be able to leave to Israel. It turns out, one late night in the hospital, Moshe Landau, one of the biggest tzaddikim I know, who loves all Jews and helps everyone he can, went to visit Rev Avrohom late at night, like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, at a time where no one else visits patients in the hospital. He went to see Rev Avrohom. And as he went to the hospital, he saw Rev Avrohom mumbling something. So he put his ear next to Rev Avrohom's mouth to see what's he saying. Is he complaining about his suffering? But instead he heard Rev Avrohom saying Mishnayot Mikvaot by heart. Saying Mishnayot. That is an Eved Hashem who's 24 hours loyal to his king. And it turns out, he told his family, when I leave this world, don't say Hesped for me. Don't eulogize me at the funeral, because why should I deserve honor? What am I? Who am I anyway? And you know, Ratzon V'Av Yaseh, Hashem did what he wanted, because he was Nisan Adar, in the happy month of Adar, Erev Shabbat. And Erev Shabbat, there's usually no eulogies. It turns out, finally he returned. He was sick in the hospital, but he was always worried. 1 second, did Reb Eli Reingold, the Talmid Chacham, get the bookcases he asked me to make for his house, for his Kolo house? He was worried for other people. Here, his health was, he's thinking, did he get the bookcases he ordered? Always thinking for other people. So finally, it seems he had a heart attack, and Rev Avrohom returns his beautiful neshama to the most beautiful part of the world, Gan Eden. And at that time, all of Tals felt as if somehow a bunch of buildings just exploded. Someone who did so many jobs for everyone, such an askan, such a helper for the community. Whether it was kashrut or shchita or safrut or the candies or the food for the people and the bookshelves and the stenders and the haircuts. Oh, someone who everyone loved, a storyteller, someone who always gave us strength, had left and made the world a sadder place to live in. And it turns out, even after he left, there were times that the people who did the tahara, they dipped him in the mikveh, they said they never saw someone smile in the mikveh when they were tifling him before they bury him. But someone said, really, considering how much pain he had, I saw his face. He had like a smile on his face, a menucha kind of face. I've seen that by Rabbi Saratskin as well. And it turns out, the year he died, 2 Avrohoms were born. One Avrohom was born right when he died, to be named after the Shei Tzaddik of Avrohom. And another Avrohom was born that year also at the end of the year. Because Hashem, when he lets the sun set in one part of the world, it rises in another. Even if one tzaddik's taken away, B'ezrat Hashem, another tzaddik comes. But it turns out that Rev Avrohom even came back to this world after he died. And I'll tell you how. There was someone in the family that was about to do Avirah, about to watch a video that wasn't kosher. And right then Rev Avrohom came in the middle of the night and smashed him in the face, shaking his teeth. The man was trembling. He thought, and he saw Rev Avrohom punch him in the face. And how did I know this? Because I saw him going to visit the kever, the tomb, the grave of Avrohom 3 days in a row as he was washing his hands, doing teshuvah. And I asked him, he was a very modern person, as you could understand. And I asked him, how are you going? And he said, he scared me. He came and he threatened to hurt me if I go away from the Torah. And it turns out, right at that time, his wife had to be in the hospital also. And she felt so lonely. But you know what? She saw his vision sitting in a chair next to him, saying, eat, my dear, don't worry. It turns out, on Shavuot, she was so lonely, and she asked her daughter, please buy flowers for this holiday. But you know what? Her daughter was too busy and preoccupied. She wasn't able to get the flowers. And that Shavuot night, his dear wife, she should be well, she felt lonely that no flowers on Shavuot, the day where we had flowers on our Sinai, on Torah. How beautiful is the Torah, we should honor it with flowers. She had to go to sleep and she felt bad there was no flowers. But suddenly in the middle of the night, she smelled the house, smelled like an Eden. I don't know what it smelled like flowers. And she went downstairs to see what happened. And the plants that were in the room just started growing flowers. She never saw flowers for 10 years on these plants. They were tall house plants, very tall. She never saw a flower. And now all of a sudden there were flowers all over the top that just grew out of the plant on Shavuot. And she realized she must have got sent flowers from heaven. And you know what? As soon as Shavuot was over, all the little parts of the flower just came down, fell down on the floor. Amazing. But many times